Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, or good day wherever you are in the world, and welcome to the next episode of No Dice, No Glory. Sponsored by our jobs that actually pay us money, we're coming to you not at all live from an abandoned arms factory deep under a mountain in West Virginia. We are proud to proffer to you the finest in wargaming coverage. Without any further ado, let's get this show on the road.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tales of the Sale, episode 35. New starter, who dis? We've been on hiatus thanks to website issues, and so those of you who are tuning in will probably notice that we're kind of recording out of sequence. This will be the third of 3 different podcasts we record with guest stars, and I'll probably be recording little intros before the others to let you kind of know what's been up. But it is the regular crew here. We have myself, Tom Cherborn Mullane. We have Glenn, the gentleman farmer Van Meter, and we are joined today by the specialist of special guest stars, the owner of 2 boats, not simply one, Mike Tunez. Say hello.
How's it going, guys?
And Glenn, you can say hello too. I was just worried that the sheep that's been screaming in your house is gonna make an appearance.
Oh, thanks. I'm honored to be here on my show.
Well, I keep worrying after the first time you told us before we started recording that there's a sheep screaming, that like the second you hit the push to talk button, I would hear somebody like Silence of the Lamb style, like yelling. So I'm worried for you, Glenn. I'm worried for that sheep.
At this point, I'm praying for Silence of the Lamb. No, it's a sheep.
It's a sheep. It's a sheep. Okay. It's a sheep.
Yes.
So we're gonna go around the horn, talk about what we've been up to, and then we will talk about New Year's resolutions. Mike gets to make fun of us, and then we'll spend the majority of our time asking Mike questions and pestering him about a variety of topics, because the Kickstarter has finally arrived, and it's a time to celebrate. Happy New Year, everybody! I got my stuff. I know it's on the way. I'm psyched, man. So Glenn, tell us what you've been up to.
I've been trying to build my starter set. However, I've had some serious stuff going on in life. All of which has happened since our website got messed up. So yeah, I found out I was getting laid off in November. Spent all of December and half of January job hunting. Just started the new job halfway through January, so I'm spending a lot of my time dealing with that. Besides that, it's lambing season, which we went with a little earlier than normal this year. We have an absolute runt of a lamb that normally lambs are like 7 pounds when they're born. This guy was born at 2 pounds 6 ounces, so he's just fully developed but very, very tiny. So he's living inside because he can't regulate his own body temperature in the relatively mild Maryland winter that we're having.
If I say he sounds delicious, is that wrong?
No. However, I don't think he's going to be staying here. I think he's probably going to get passed on to somebody else.
Okay. So he'll have another home, but you can take care of him in the meantime.
Yeah.
I have a new student teacher. He will be my 7th that I've worked with in my career. He's quite good. He's doing a good job. He is a former student of mine. He's from SUNY Oneonta, and he's also a former Model UN member. And so he's taken over 2 of my classes. He's not allowed to take over advanced economics because Syracuse is really a pain about that. But the last couple weeks, I've been spending mostly planning with him, working together on lessons and things like that. And he had his first observation today, and it went really well. So his observer from SUNY Oneonta was very happy with him. I've been making some new wargaming friends. I've met one of my colleagues. Her brother started to really get into historicals, so I ran demos of Blood and Plunder with him. I even pulled out Oak and Iron. I played some other mini games that we won't mention on here, and he had a blast. We also, one of my students in economics came to me and said, my dad plays this kind of game, and I told him about the miniatures you have, because I had like a pirate ship set up in the corner, and he said that you need to call him and it's important. And so I called up the dad, and he's like, so when are we going to get together to play this game? I also met a third guy named Joe. Joe is from like the Poughkeepsie area, and so it's only about 30 minutes away from me, which really isn't that bad. And I did a demo of Blood and Plunder for him as well, and he's got a whole crew in kind of the Hudson Valley that is probably getting into the game as well. So if you see a couple of orders come through, Mike, that's probably because you got a new crew of people in upstate New York that are going to test out the game.
So after 3 years of trying locally, you're finally making some headway.
Yeah, COVID does put a damper on things.
Getting out of the doldrums.
Getting out of the quarantine shack. I've been tutoring a lot of sick children. I haven't been able to paint any of my minis yet, but because of all the extra sprues that Mike sent me, some of which were for Glenn, most of which we're planning on giving away as prizes on here, I just kind of dumped them out in the bed and just rolled around in them because I feel like that's the best way to really, I wanted to feel like a pirate. And I feel like that's what a pirate would do with his loot because it's finally arrived.
That seems appropriate.
So, Mike, you have had a very busy couple months. Why don't you walk us through what you've been up to lately, last month or so?
Wow. Well, yeah, that's a lot. How long is this podcast?
It's as long as you want it to be.
Wait, I have it. Hold on. It says here in the show notes that Mike's been sleeping peacefully with very little to do.
It also says he's been slowly building a rum running fleet. I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
Other than that, you must have had other things you're up to.
What's that? What was a rumor? Is you've gotten a new littoral ship? Is that the right word for it?
Yeah, that seems appropriate. This is like a good name. Yeah. I did. You guys mentioned it early on. Apparently, I somehow became common knowledge. I acquired a second boat. I mean, it sounds really fancy, but it's it fits in my garage with lots of room to spare, so it's not very big. I could probably put it on top of my car. But I just wanted a little sailing. My kids how to sail because they're interested, and I don't let them touch my main boat, so they could use that one. Just sail around on the beach and stuff.
I feel like you brought it up to us last time because we were about to record with you earlier and things came up. But I think you mentioned that there was a boat that you were like. I think the phrase you used was, "I couldn't afford not to buy it," and
yes.
I respected that so much that I wanted to bring it up on here just to annoy you.
It was very cheap for what it's worth, so I did get a really good deal. Anytime you buy a boat and you can buy it in cash without and not be too worried walking around with the cash.
I was gonna say, do you even have to hit the ATM?
Yeah, you can pull the money out of the ATM. Exactly.
Nobody likes to get mugged for boat money. I mean, we've all been there.
I mean, yeah, we all have, especially if you're playing Blood and Plunder.
So what is up at Firelock this month? What have you been doing?
Well, this month is to pretend like we're in the past because it's supposed to be a New Year's episode. Or do I talk about February? Because it's only been 2 days. I don't have despite the fact it's only been 2 days, a lot has gone on. But I guess you're just referring to these last few months. Well, as you know, Kickstarter North America is fully fulfilled. We did have an unprecedented number of stragglers on this Kickstarter, much more than we anticipated, which did not reflect in GameFound. GameFound, the way they give us the information, didn't really make that clear. We were able to get some people, but there were some people that we were able to reach out to, but somehow still didn't reach out. And there were some people that we didn't know about. So I want to say it's 100 and something people so far that never filled out their surveys, didn't know about the surveys, or had something wrong on their surveys, filled them so recently. And unfortunately, we got shorted on boxes of plunder. So we're waiting for those to come in. Now that Chinese New Year's over, we almost made it on time. They were able to make the sprues that they shorted us on time to get them, and I ordered extras too, just so because we do plan on selling those for what it's worth. I don't know how that's going to look yet, but we bought extras so we can sell them. Bases as well. That was another common thing. So we ordered a lot of bases. So this all got done just before Chinese New Year, but it didn't make it to go out to ship on time. So we had to wait for the New Year to end, and then now that it's over, the box is shipped. I have tracking on it. It should be here. It doesn't give me an ETA yet, but typically it takes about a week and a half. So once those get here, then everybody who's kind of waiting for that still will get taken care of, and it'll be done in the U.S. And the rest of the world, unfortunately, there's stuff still floating in the ocean. And we just released the information on the ship on a recent update, so you guys can go on the Kickstarter page. Just look for Firelock or Blood and Plunder Raise the Black. There's just in case you late pledge or something, you don't have that access. So there's an update there that shows tracking on the ship. You can see lands, and at the Game Quest warehouse, and then they've since they kind of dropped the ball. They were supposed to do the freight originally, and we had to take the freight over because it just wasn't getting there. So since that happened, they agreed to basically give us priority. As soon as the boat lands, they'll start shipping our stuff. So there should be no downtime, no previous schedules they have or anything like that. We don't have to wait for a queue. We're just ready to go as soon as we hit the ground. So should start shipping at the end of February. So it should be completed by the end of March, I think sooner. They have a lot of people doing just this, so I think it typically takes them like a couple weeks to get it all out. I hope that's true. I hope it does go out in a couple weeks and everything's all out by the first week of March, and then it's officially all out and released, and we can finally move forward and start with all this new stuff and really get the plastic in everyone's hands, because everybody's loving it. The starter sets, especially. If you have the starter set, I mean, you've seen. I mean, it blew me away when we got our first one. I was in good ways and bad ways. I mean, I really, they sent me the measurements. They sent me the white copy of the box, and even the white copy didn't seem so massive when it was, just a hollow box with the plastic in it. I mean, the plastic like the vacuum form trays. I mean, we really couldn't make them smaller. I think we realized we could maybe take an inch away from the width, but ultimately it doesn't really make any difference. That thing is, I mean, I look back on it at everything that went into making that thing, and it almost feels worth it.
Well, we're gonna get into more of that in a bit, I think, because we're gonna
Tangent here. So we'll talk about what we're working on, right? Sorry.
Yeah, well, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna cover the stuff that I suspect people will just make fun of us for, which is the New Year's
Right.
resolutions, and then we'll
Yes.
just the rest of the time we have plenty of questions because Glenn has been hiding from screaming sheep and preparing himself to just pepper you, and so we're ready to roll. But
so I'll give you the short version of what we've been doing then. So basically, filling the Kickstarter, we invested in some higher quality 3D printing stuff to make new masters, and we have our ScioCast, that whole combination of things, and now there's a whole new learning curve and process, and we've been really spending a whole heck of a lot of time doing. We've had a lot of technical issues. It seems like, for example, that the humidity here, like when we're casting in our ScioCast, and it looks great, but the shaking. Seems like our humidity here is a factor. I think. I don't know. We're still kind of working it out with them, exactly what's going on. The current fix is just print bigger minis, and then they shrink accordingly, and we're trying that now. Hopefully that fixes it. But otherwise we'll just give up and scale creep everything down, and all the minis will be.
It's just more historically accurate, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Let's go with that. They were smaller historically. They've done anthropological research that during the Industrial Revolution people did shrink. The average height of people declined. So that's all accurate. So
Exactly.
when last we bothered you on New Year's, and I realized that it's Groundhog Day, so it's kind of really the start of the year. I don't really take things seriously until I take my word from a rodent as to how long the cold will last. What did he say? Did you get Glenn? You're a farmer. What did the groundhog tell us? Did he tell us that it's 6 more weeks of winter? I don't know.
You're not gonna believe this, but I'm not super farmer-y, and if we see groundhogs, we shoot them. So, which is actually very, very farmer-y. I think he said 6 more weeks because I saw a lot of people upset about it, but I don't actually know.
I love the idea of people getting upset about the prediction, but I mean, I agree. Groundhogs are the enemy. Like, I have the world's tiniest garden, and they've eaten everything. Like, I'm just growing more hot peppers because I know that if he eats those, it'll kill him. And it's like, well, then that's what you get. But okay. So anyway, when last we talked to Mike, he agreed that he would judge who is the loser and who's the winner of the New Year's resolution contest. And this is actually a bit tricky because if the list I'm looking at right now is updated, Glenn, you have failed spectacularly. And
it's up to date.
Okay, and then I have also failed. So like Mike, we trust you. We trust your judgment to decide who deserves the golden turd, as it were, because I don't know. I don't know if I certainly deserved, being on the bottom last time, but we're going to see. So whoever's the most successful with the resolutions over the past year gets to pick a resolution for the other. I'm going to go through my resolutions, and I'm going to let you know if I succeeded or failed. All right. So number 1, fully paint an entire box of French or English. I failed. I have them open and primed, but that's as far as I got. Number 2, fully paint a Dutch box to supplement all the Dutch I already have. I failed. I didn't even open that box. Paint the 6th rate I have. Failed. I tried airbrushing it. I didn't finish because I didn't ventilate stuff properly, and I almost passed out. So that project stopped until it got warmer, and then it just didn't get warmer.
I honestly thought you had knocked out a bunch of starter boxes earlier in the year.
No, I went back and fixed that for you because you had it listed as green, and it should be red. It is red. Those were commissions for people.
You just got to move to Florida. It's 70 degrees right now. It's supposed to be a high of 88 tomorrow.
But then I'd run out of excuses, so I don't have them. All right. So 4, host or co-host a convention game. Tournament counts. I succeeded. We did run a bunch of stuff at Historicon. We were very busy. Write an article per month.
I will point out we also did the destination tournament.
We did. Yeah, that definitely counts. That was a great one.
Definitely counts.
That was awesome.
I wish I could have gone to that.
If we do another one, you got to see if we can link up schedules. But we had a good time. We had a really good time.
I personally view it as when we do the next one, I just gotta start planning it.
I want to give people a lot of notice because I feel like we didn't give them as much notice as we intended this time around. So
we planned it in 4 months. We gave as much as we could.
Oh yeah, I know with the time we had, but I'd say maybe 6. But yeah, we'll figure it out. But that's a success. So that's my first success. So I'm 1 for 4 so far. Write an article per month, and I get a freebie. So I needed 11. I failed, I would say. Even if I count the podcast that I edited, we know that I edited very well over the past 2 months. So that definitely chalks up as a fail. So I'm 1 for 5. Glenn provided me that we pick a system or a time period that I'm not currently working on and do a force for it. I have painted 40 minis for Saga, and I have an entire Irish army. So nice. I'm giving myself the win on that one. Port table constructed and painted. No. However, thanks to Dexter Hyde's awesome videos, I did construct my own set of docks, one of which Glenn got as a gift from a previous bet that I lost. So I got a pier that can dock 3 ships. That's a win.
Nice.
I did not finish building the buildings I wanted to. I did make new pieces of scatter terrain, any type. I have a bunch of rocks, treasure chests, palm trees, scrubs, and things like that. So that's a win. So all in, I failed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I succeeded on 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm 4 and 6, which is it's better than the Giants' record most seasons. Guess I'm happy about that. But I'm definitely going to be painting a lot more this coming year. So Glenn, walk us through your year.
See, I was smarter this time, and I gave myself 2 succinct goals, and I'm not sure I hit either of them.
To quote The Simpsons, aim low, aim so low no one will care if you succeed. But actually, no, this was a smart choice. But go ahead.
Yeah, because I had an issue the previous year with having a huge goal that I never got close to making. I was going to build and paint a starter set for demos. I think my starter set arrived the 2nd week of December, which gave me about 2 weeks before I was laid off / going on a family trip to Florida, etc. So that didn't happen. It arrived late in the year, and I think I got 8 sailors built before I left.
That's not bad considering. I would kind of give you partial credit given the time constraints in the season. I'd give you like a half a point.
Yeah.
Hey, I got you on time. All right. Got here before the end of the year. I gave it to you before we got to you before the end of the year. So,
Mike is. Mike is a cruel taskmaster.
The Russian judge
There's
over
no
there.
mercy. There's the Russian judge.
And then the second thing was to build and paint enough troops to start Napoleonics testing. I have enough troops built and painted for Napoleonics testing. However, I didn't build or paint any of them. Those are all commission stuff. So I got them this year, but it was all commission, and I don't want to count it because I didn't paint it.
Somebody
so it's up
painted
to
it.
you guys. It's up to
Yeah,
you guys
Mike. I don't know. It's Mike's call. That's Mike's call.
whether me paying somebody else to achieve my objective counts.
I feel like it does.
That's
Like,
just called issuing a commission in our case, right?
exactly.
Hey.
This is a concept in economics that I teach, Glenn. It doesn't matter how it's achieved necessarily. You've achieved, utility. This is marginal utility, and you are maximizing your utility by having somebody else paint those models. So that's a win. I feel like it's partial win at least.
If I had the money, I'd definitely pay people to paint a lot more of my models, especially stuff that I just don't feel like painting, but I want to play with. I'd still paint some stuff, but I would definitely pay for a lot of stuff to get painted just to clear the backlog.
And you have brilliant painters right next door. You could just have Kai do it. It's basically his full-time job. Kai's an awesome painter.
Yeah, but Kai's too expensive now. Can't afford Kai.
That's right. Kai's hit the big time. He's too big for us.
Mhm.
The base stuff is really good.
I can only afford it if it's for marketing stuff, but I can't use it to paint, let's say any other thing I get, right? What do I have in my backlog right now? Let me see. I've still got a bunch of fantasy stuff. I got some orcs that I got to get painted that have just been sitting there. I just have not had the motivation to paint. I'd definitely pay somebody to paint those.
Oh yeah, no, I got some stuff done. It wasn't the things on the list. And the whole point of this was to give me extra room. So I'll say that I failed the first one with the starter set, and I apparently got a 0.5 on the other one. So I'm 0.5 too.
Now the wild card here is Mike, because we actually set some of these up for you, Mike. And since you're probably not looking at the notes, we'll read them to you. But so your personal challenge was to beat Rufus and Kai in an American Gladiator style Rumble. I feel that's a push, because the opportunity just didn't present itself. Rufus is very tall. I wouldn't blame you for kind of ducking out, but I think
I disagree.
The jury's out. You
I disagree.
All right.
We were all together in person. We could have done it. We just forgot.
Okay.
That's the problem.
So we'll count that one against you. So that's one down. All right. But I have to say, the Firelock related ones, the ones that really count, you're 3-1. You were 3 for 4. So get the Kickstarter out. That's a win. It's out.
Yeah.
So it's the United States. Publish at least 3 new books. That's a win.
At least by my count. I counted at least 3. I don't know if somebody wants to challenge that.
Well, I'd definitely say 3 at least. I think we got 1, 2, and War Stories did technically come out on PDF. It is released.
I mean, Fire on the Frontier, Raise the Black, and not War Stories, Blood and Steel.
I forgot about Raise the Black.
Huh?
I guess that counts, right?
It definitely counts.
Book.
That's been right.
Yeah, it counts. It counts for sure.
That's true.
So that's the 3 new books, and then last, number 4, begin transitioning the new line to resin, to the new resin, to the Siocast stuff, which you definitely have.
We have.
So Mike might have won. We threw him on here as an afterthought, but Mike is 3-1. I am 4-6.
You skipped the thing you didn't get.
Oh, the thing he didn't get was the series of releases for Oak and Iron direct retail, which we're not there yet, right? But that's still a pretty solid record, I'd say. It's close.
Yeah, we're close. We're close. So close. I was hoping that would have been. We knew we weren't going to get our Siocast equipment on time. Actually, at that time, I don't think we were planning on getting our own Siocast equipment. I think we were planning on doing it outside. The ships have proven a little trickier than I imagined, but we're close. We're close. We made this week. We actually got. Tomorrow, the first mold could potentially be done. We'll see. I'm feeling pretty optimistic because we're getting real close. There's little tiny things we just got to keep correcting in the actual sculpt, and then reprinting, and then making a new mold. And then sometimes the mold's actually pretty difficult to do with all the little tiny details. It's old, but we're getting better at it, and we're getting more consistent results. And now we've corrected the actual modeling issues, so we're real close.
All right. So Mike, you've got yourself 3 choices. Okay. Each of them carries with it consequences because I'm a vindictive, terrible person, and I'm looking forward to torturing Glenn. I'm sure Glenn is relishing the opportunity to do that to me. Or you could give the crown to yourself. Now, keep in mind that whoever is judged to be the most successful New Year's resolutioner has earned the right, by trial by combat, to dish out at least one resolution to the other 2 people. So, do you want to give the crown to yourself, to Glenn, or to me?
Well, obviously I deserve it, though. I did succeed way more than you guys, but that said, I can be bought. My vote can be bought. So you can probably message me right now in the next 5 seconds and see if you can convince me.
I don't want chats. Why are you bringing up chats? Oh no, it's all broken.
He's not gonna read it. That's the joke.
No. Oh, Lord, it's not working at all.
Well, I don't think I don't consider myself a valid candidate, even though I would be the obvious winner. So I have to give it to Tom. We're gonna have to give this to Tom.
I am so proud of myself for not failing as badly as I thought I had. I'd like to thank the Academy.
Well,
I'd like to
let's be
thank
clear.
Glenn.
I think you did fail pretty badly. It's just that Glenn failed
I did fail pretty badly.
spectacularly worse. And I had a hand in it, so I feel like I win with you since I got the Kickstarter out so late. So
No, that's fair. Yeah.
I feel
So
partly
it's
responsible.
collusion.
Yeah.
It's collusion.
Yeah.
All right. So if that's the case, let's go into it. So in classic fashion for this year, Glenn has set himself some achievable goals, and I, as we have established, have not. So Glenn, let's start with you. And while you're giving those, I'm going to think up your special one.
Starting with me. Oh,
yeah.
I was hoping you'd start.
I can start if you need some more time. I can start if you need some more time.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I was putting the outline together. I skipped this section originally, and I didn't realize I had to come back to it.
All right. So Mike, I will say that in recognition of the fact that I'm kind of winning by default, and that you assisted me collusion style, I will say that you get to give me something in addition to the stuff I'm about to list. Okay. So think about it. All right. You can give me whatever you want, and yeah, I got some free time coming up this summer. I'm turning 40 in April. So that's exciting. And I have some pirate themed stuff planned for my birthday, I think. All right, so
As I consider my options, am I allowed to extort you? Is that part of the game?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
It's allowed.
He's a pirate.
It's on the table. It's on the pirate. All right. Number 1.
I was going to ask, are you upgrading from old Tom to old Tom?
I feel like, I don't know, old Tom carries new residence since I'm now 40. But yeah, let's go old Tom. I'll do old Tom. I'm the oldest. I'm mature and full of sagely wisdom. Just ask any of my students. Do you know, like, Glenn, I've been able to use the phrase, I've been teaching this course for longer than you've been alive. And I've used that like several times because
I've no doubt. Oh, it's real weird because I'm at this new job and they brought me in.
Well, listen, Tom, the last 2 years have been kind to me in my aging this year, in May. And I have a picture with my son for his 5th birthday, right? And he'll be 7. And the picture is brown. My beard is just, I've gone full, could relate.
All right. Well, I feel like if I were dealing with the kind of shipping problems that you've had to deal with, I'd probably be growing my beard in white too. So I admire your patience and your tenacity.
I gave these guys, for your listeners to know, I gave you guys the whole story that I won't share here this time. But maybe once everything's shipped out and done, I can come back on and give my whole sob story.
It's really an Odysseus-style journey. It's like a Greek tragedy. So next time you got to give us the details. But I think, yeah, it's quite a tale.
Just wait until the right people are paid off.
But that's correct. That's correct. All right, my plan for this year. This is ambitious because I like going big. So, number 1, I'm going to play 4 games of Oak and Iron with 4 different opponents.
Ooh.
Because I was inspired by Jason Klotz, whose podcast should have already come out by the time this thing comes out. And I want to keep using his website and pushing people that way.
And while you were talking, he played 4 games of Oak and Iron.
Yes, he did. He's Jason does not mess around.
Yeah, if the Summer of Plunder is anything to go by, he probably did.
Oh, he's already planning, and so is Joe. Like they are
Mhm.
armed with ideas. They're ready to roll. So yeah, this summer it's coming again. All right. Number 2,
I think it's gonna be bigger than ever. It's gonna be awesome.
I want to visit a pirate-themed historical site in the Caribbean, which I may be able to pull off because I'm going to be down there in April. So we'll see. I'm gonna prioritize that. I'm going to see what kind of excursions, because we're taking a cruise. So I want to stop one of these islands and go to see if I can find some hidden pirate rum. All right. Number 3, I'm going to complete and paint my first fully scratch-built house. I have some of the framework from it done, but I have a lot of work to do, and I'm going to follow some Dexter Hyde tutorials and try to make something that looks vaguely like his, but it'll probably look horrifying like a kid made it. But I don't know. It's my doc turned out pretty darn good, so he's a pretty good teacher overall. All right. Number 4, I'm going to paint the starter armies from the Kickstarter 2-player box and have a portable demo box that I can bring places. And I would say this is the second most difficult thing on my list because I know how much painting it involves. That would include the ships because they came with it. So I have a lot of work to do, and I've already laid the stuff out on my table. If we had a camera, I'd just pan over there and you'd see all the stuff that's half assembled. I will paint, number 5, paint and rig my 6th rate because I've been trying to do that for a year. Time is now. 6, I'm going to run
Flute 2.0.
Yep, I know. I'm going to win this time. I'm going to kill it. I'm going to get all of these done. 6, I'm going to run a non-tournament convention game. I don't care what con it's at. It might be at Fall In. It might be at Historicon, but I want to run something cool that's themed. And last, number 7, this is thanks to the Golden Age of Piracy and Benderson Little. One of my colleagues was very inspired by his book, and she came to me and asked if I would be willing to help her design a high school history course just about pirates. So my plan is to design that by June and hopefully have it on the course menu for kids to take. So I would be basically using Blood and Plunder to teach kids about the crisis of the 1600s, the War of Spanish Succession, and all sorts of really obscure, weird, fun historical topics that they would have a blast messing with.
I feel like
Sounds awesome.
you should include both like the historical aspect, but then also give a bit of a talk about modern piracy.
Oh yeah, we're gonna transition all the way up to that. So like the whole idea is really to make a course that's like on neglected topics that kids are always kind of into that they never get a chance to really delve into. And piracy is going to be the focus. So we'll definitely do some modern pirate stuff too. But yeah, so I'll probably be chatting about that as I design it in the next couple of podcasts that we record. Because I actually, you'll probably laugh at this, Mike, but a bunch of my students told me that they listen to this because they're like, oh yeah, I want to hear Mr. Mullane talk about pirates. And so they're probably going to want to take the course. So I'll be talking to them and I'll be brainstorming ideas and spitballing stuff, and we'll see. I'll take plenty of pictures. I'll publish articles, and I'll send you some stuff. And that's me. So I've got 7. That's a lot. But so Mike's still thinking about mine. I get to think of one for Glenn. So Glenn, let's run down your list. Give us what you got.
All right, I'm gonna keep it short and sweet, but plenty to do. Build and paint my starter for demos. This is mostly just so that I get this thing done because it needs to get done. We need to do the demos, and I've got the kit downstairs. Second, organize a second destination tournament. I want to get the planning done. It may not occur next year, but I want to be in contact with the facility, have all the planning, hopefully get announcements out to people. The first one was a pretty good success. I think with a better planning, we could definitely go even bigger. at least as far as number of attendees, and probably do something pretty interesting. I don't think the next one will be in Maryland. That's the point of destination. Gotta go somewhere to do the thing. Third, finish the rough draft and initial playtesting of the Napoleonic BMP rules that I've been working on. As I mentioned before, I have the minis. So I need to finish getting the lists together because they're like 3/4 done, maybe. And then do some playtests. Oh no.
Nice. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm typing.
Yes, I see that.
I'm going to make it real simple. I'm going to give you a choice. Okay.
I was going to say, the caveat here is if it works.
All right. So what I've just typed dramatically in front of Glenn's eyes is a choice. He can either write 3 articles for the website. That's for the whole year. Or he can clean and organize his basement. I've been to Glenn's basement, and it is a wonder. There is every model you can imagine under the earth. There's an amazing gaming table. It's a cool space. It really is. And yet, it is a mess. And it's not really entirely his fault. You're a father of 3. You have a full-time job. There's a cat down there who probably helps more than he hurts. But I think you'd be way more happy if that thing were organized enough. And I know it's a priority of yours. So I'm going to put it on there as a way for you to get a win. So you can either write the articles or clean or organize the basement. Doesn't matter which one. And I'll give you bonus points if you pull off both of them.
I was going to ask about extra credit.
Extra credit.
He is a teacher. No, what's kind of weird was, I got noticed in November that I was being laid off December 30th, essentially. And I had already planned a family trip for Christmas week. So we weren't going to be in town. And I was like, okay, well, this is good because, I'll come back and then I'll have I'll plan for a couple weeks between this and whatever job I get lined up because it's going to take maybe some time to get lined up. And in the meantime, I'll just treat cleaning my basement as my job. And my wife was like, yes, 100% behind this. Awesome plan. Sounds great. But then again, with the getting laid off thing, it was also like, we're in Florida at my parents'. Aside from, the neighbor has to watch the sheep for a little bit longer. There's no hurry to get home. We had to make it back sometime around when kindergarten went back. But other than that, we could just kind of hang out. I didn't need to be back on Monday for work. My week that I was supposed to be cleaning, we ended up just being in Florida longer. And then I ended up lining up a job that started a week after I'd been laid off. So all that time that was supposed to get cleaning never happened.
All I heard was blah, blah, blah. My basement isn't clean yet. So that's fine. Correct. That's why it's on the list, Glenn.
That's correct.
Think of it as my way to help you
clean
that basement. All right. So that leaves us with Mike. So Mike,
what's Tom got to do?
Yeah. What do I have to do? Give me something to do.
I'm going to send you my backlog of minis and you can paint them for me.
Okay, how many were you talking about?
I don't know. It's probably like 300-400.
I can't do that much, but I can definitely do. You can force me to do like 25. I'll do a whole starter for you if you want to.
Hey, that's fine. Well, I actually like painting the Blood and Thunder minis. I'm going to send you something like more grueling, like a bunch of like 10 millimeter.
I'm fine with that. You give me whatever you want.
Or something. So.
Send him a battle pick.
Yeah. Okay. Good. You said I could extort
you.
You
can either ship them to me, or
something.
You can give them to me if you're going to be at Historicon, and we'll do the trade off. And I'll remind you when it gets close. I'll set an alarm for myself. So you make sure you pack them, and then I can grab them, and I'll take them home.
This is great. I'm glad I got on this podcast today.
All right, Mike, give us 3 goals you've got for Firelock games this year. Things that you think you can achieve or that you're confident that are going to happen. Let's aim to hit it out of the park.
I'm going to aim high on this one. So this has been more challenging than I anticipated. The learning curve on this manufacturing and this mold making process. So one of my goals that has been my goal is, and I'm already behind, is to convert our entire range of metals to Cyocast this year. We're also going to release at least 7 oak and iron chips this year. I need to finish Frontiers and ideally release it at the end of this year. It's very, very, very close. It just needs time, which I don't have. And to easy one, since it's already done, I just have to actually go and type it and put it into the document, is the Oak and Iron rules update. So that's been, sorry, I had to cough. Uh, that's been done for a couple weeks, but I just haven't had the. It's kind of an arduous process to get it because of the way that I plan on making time for it. Hopefully, I really plan on doing it this month. But we'll see.
All right.
I say that, but then I'll realize I did something wrong, and I'll go back and tweak it some more. But I'm pretty happy with where it's at. So there's some other stuff I would like to. No, that's good enough for now. There's a bunch of other.
Okay.
There's a
So
We'll get
we're
to it.
about to
there's a lot I want to do this year, but we'll leave it there.
we're about to bug you about all the other stuff you think might be going on, but those are the 4 we're going to stick with, and I'm going to save this in a different file so I don't forget to do it. I'm just going to put it up on my wall and remind myself on a regular basis.
I was gonna say you should just like use the snip tool and cut out your section, blow it up, and make it your desktop screen. Your desktop wallpaper is just your list of things to do.
You know, it's funny though, because most of the stuff that's on my list is not stuff I can just like do on a whim. Where I'm like, oh shoot, it's 4 days before the new year. Better get down to Jamaica. You know, so like I don't know. Well, I don't know how useful that would be, but we'll find out. So with that, we're going to talk a little bit more about the coming year. So Glenn, I'll let you take the lead on this because you wrote these questions. So yeah, walk us through what you want to know, what inquiring minds want to know.
Well, we're gonna run down the whole Firelock game plan here in the coming year, but we'll start off with what this show is truly about, which is blood and plunder and piracy. First thing on the list, everybody wants to know because you've been teasing this like many other things for a long time. Where is our Barco Longa in the release schedule?
Funny, I literally was holding it in my hand yesterday and cursing it. Well, so the problem with that is, as I've told you, we 3D printed it. I had somebody clean it up for me and try to get it ready for manufacturing, and they kind of botched it. So I have to print a new one. Problem is, I've just basically at this point I've given up hope that we're going to be able to do it ourselves successfully. Even though we got a nice new 3D printer, doesn't print big enough to print that. So I've got to send this thing out. It's going to be kind of expensive, but we do have. I think I can flex it and make it happen. So I'm going to get a nice, shiny, high-end print of it so that I can use that and cast it. Because once I get a final model that I can cast, I could literally have the thing out like in 2 weeks. It's just a matter of getting the card file. As soon as I get the guy who does the printing is currently on vacation. He comes back next week, and we're supposed to talk about it next week. So after that, I'll know where I fit into his schedule, and we'll get the print, and I'm hoping it'll be out this quarter.
So just from a nerd aspect, do you know if I presume they're going to be resin printing it?
Yes, they will be resin
Okay.
printed.
Yeah, I don't think FDM has the resolution.
No, yeah, we resin printed it too, but we did it on a Mono X, which is a pretty good, printer, but ultimately it's not the quality we need. So,
right.
It's unfortunately all the layer lines and everything that come out they show in the prints, but these some of these newer higher end machines they really have no layer lines. So, and I know I came in contact with somebody who has a nice, really large Asiga machine who can do it.
Nice. All right, rolling along. When is the next Kickstarter or Blood and Plunder time period, since those may not be synonymous?
So we're not going to do any big time jumps for a while. Expect probably the next year or two to see more books like Fire on the Frontier. As we expand and fill in the time periods we already have, we plan to do a lot to fill in the time periods between 1600 and 1730. The first one is already being worked on by Joseph Forrester and Liam Taylor. And it's basically going to kind of be what Fire on the Frontier was to No Peace Beyond the Line. This book is to Raise the Black, and it just kind of hyper focuses more on the pirates of the Atlantic in general that would basically prey on the triangle trade and everything else. So and as well as going down all the way to Brazil and things like that. And we're even going to touch the plan right now, and it's kind of ambitious, but we're going to also touch on some of those West African kingdoms as well along the coast that were part of this whole thing. So that'll be our first foray out of the Americas for an actual unit. So
Nice.
that's kind of interesting if we're able to pull it off. It's a bit ambitious, but
I have a lot of confidence in Joe and Liam because they really did a great job on Fire on the Frontier. So if anybody can pull it off, those guys
well,
can.
Is Joe going to be able to do a book that isn't focused on Native Americans?
well, so far he's proven to be doing a great job. This book is going to be really focused on named pirates and characters and all the kind of pirates that are sort of missing from Raise the Black. So this will be focused more on legendaries, and the stuff they've already dug up on the African kingdoms and stuff is super interesting and fascinating. I have no question whatsoever that they're going to be able to pull it off. The problem will be making the models for it while we continue to do a full range of what we're already doing, because there's no real. I've looked around, and there aren't really any appropriate models that anybody's making for these, so it would need to be done.
I'm guessing that
And
few black heads that are in like the Southern Tribes kit aren't really going to be appropriate with the bodies you got.
no, these aren't quite like tribal African kingdoms. These are African groups. They're more kingdoms.
These
So
are
they have
organized
uniformed
states.
regular troops.
This is like Dahomey
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Asante.
So-
Yeah. So this is going to be interesting.
Exactly that. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's exactly what we plan. So we're trying to do it not too in depth because still our focus is ultimately the Americas, but it is such a significant part of that whole thing that we thought it would be a cool thing to do. It was Liam Taylor's idea, and I'm excited to do it. It's cool because it's unique. It's not been done, but I want to do it justice. But it's also a big project. So without overblowing the book into something bigger than what it needs to be, and also being able to do the modeling, it's something we're going to do at some point. Whether or not it makes it into this book is the question. So, but we'll see.
Because another thing I have written down here is, are we going to see the Mediterranean book coming anytime soon? But I'm guessing the answer is probably not.
Not this year. Not this year. But yes, that is in the plans.
Do you have plans for?
The Mediterranean would be a very big expansion, is the problem. So,
Okay. Do you have plans for doing something like the Florida Wars, like what's going on between Spain, England, etc., through Florida, or is that more just covered in Raise the Black?
yes, we do. In fact, before we started this project, that was the plan to do that project. But that project is just put on the back burner for now. But yes, we do have a plan for that.
Okay, and then we had other people asking, are you planning to go earlier, like possibly the Age of Exploration, like push it up to where it's Drake or the other guys who are the real lead pirates or privateers?
Yes.
Ooh. Okay.
But not this year.
Not this year. But yes. Although, just as like a distraction to myself, whenever I just need something else to think about and do, I have a few side things I dabble in. That's one of them. So there is development that has been done in that direction. But nothing. No, it won't be that. That won't be this year. Probably not next year either. But you never know. You never know where the way the winds will blow.
Gotcha. And there's also been some rumors of unreleased F&I minis, like the France's Campagne des Marines, the French Marines, possibly some others.
Yes.
Anything on any of those?
So we have 2 new units sculpted. Well, 2 new sets of models sculpted. They're not new units; they already exist. We have what we internally call the French fries, the Compagnie France de la Moran, however you say it. We have those. We have a unit of. We have a dedicated model set for the Corsarios, and we have. We also have the first in what will be a series of alternate poses for existing units, or sorry, alternate sculpts for existing units. A new set of freebooters. The freebooters are the first sculpts we ever did, and I think of all the sculpts we have, I think they look good, but they're definitely not. We got better as we went, so I feel like that one needed the most love. Now, that was something I was hoping we'd be able to see a lot more of this year, but I don't know how much more that we're going to see this year just because of how much time we're taking to really get rolling with these conversions on the original stuff. So that's taking some priority. You'll see a mix though.
I know I'll appreciate seeing more freebooters just because a lot of forces can have freebooters and they sing the same 4 poses all the time.
Yeah, and which is something we planned on doing for a long time. We just never really had the bandwidth to do it, but now we're kind of getting there, even though we don't have it again. But at least we got one unit done. So we did. It is sculpted. It is done. It's just a matter now of getting it, of catching up with our backlog on our existing line to put it out. And we may even bump the original freebooters in favor of these. That's something we are considering, just for the conversion, and keep the original freebooters. You know, since we just redid the mold for them in metal, so we'll have that for a while. So we'll see how that goes. So you may see them sooner than later. But that's what we have for now. We have plans for other. There's also some characters that are getting worked on. One of which is already done, but or not. Just to be clear, that is historical characters. So models for historical characters, and for a legendary, and some more legendaries coming up. But yeah, so you'll see some new Blood and Plunder releases this year for sure.
Gotcha. Tom, you want to take the next section about Oak and Iron?
Let's do Oak and Iron.
Wait, actually, I just thought of one. I know you mentioned the Marcolonga specifically. Do you have any plans for any additional ships that are going to come out, or are we looking at more plastic ships anytime soon?
No plastic ships anytime soon, but we do want to do more plastic ships. It's just a matter of when and how. We don't plan on doing a Kickstarter anytime soon, and another plastic ship. Unless we see a giant explosion of success this year, which could happen. You never know. I hope so. I'm optimistic. But unless we see that happening, it would require a Kickstarter to deliver a new ship like that. So probably not another plastic one for. I would guess not this year, but it's a possibility for next year. But we are looking at. We have a few other ships, and our previous ship sculptor, Jesus, who signed all the bottom of your ships. He is expressed interest in perhaps doing some more ships this year, and I plan on meeting with him next week and going over some ideas I have. So there could be some. There's a good possibility we see quite 2 or 3 new ships maybe, if things go well. So I'm optimistic that he'll be able to pull it off. So I think that's possible. We'll have the Barcalonga and probably 2 others. So we'll see.
Okay, yeah.
All right. Oak and Iron. What's with all the stuff that got teased but not released? I feel like we kind of answered that question because you were talking about the Siocast stuff. But
yes,
yeah. So we'll just kind of wrap up with the second set of questions, which is Oak and Iron related, which is, so what is the timeline that you're seeing for like new ships?
So the first one is a third. So the format is the first thing I should talk about. So these new ships are going to be released in blister packs by themselves. They'll come with 2 cards. They're going to be a generic card for the type of ship, and then a named ship that's just got like a small bonus. So it'll have like an extra special rule or some other thing like that. So you get a little extra bonus from these. They will be in gray plastic. The base will still be the clear hard plastic base. But it will not be the brown and white. We do have the ability to do that, but it's just another complication that we will add to an already complex series of conversions. So we've decided to not make our lives more difficult. And they really just the detail just really pops in the gray plastic a lot more. And I think we got knocked a lot for the brown and white plastic because it does make it look a little more toy-like. But once you paint it, you see the details really there. But you know, it doesn't advertise itself well, I guess you could. So, and these gray ones, you can really see the details, so they'll be that way. But so you'll have in the box, you'll have the ship with the mast and sails attached, like always. They're not attached, but you know, just plug and play. The base, you'll have a little punch board with your wake, a reload, a shaken, and an out of action. counter, and then you'll have the 2 ship cards, the generic one and the regular one. The first one up is going to be a new third-rate sculpt, which we previewed on Timber and Sail, and it's an English. It's our previous third rate's a French one. This one's an English one, and the named ship for that one is the HMS Anne, which is a ship you could still see the remains of off the coast of England, sitting in shallow water on very low tides.
Is that one of the ones that the Dutch stole and then they just sunk it because they didn't feel like taking it? Or am I thinking of a different thing?
No, this one was battered to pieces by the French and burned by its own crew in the Battle of Beachy Head. So, anyway, the Anne is a third rate, and that's the first ship you'll see, and that's the one that, with any luck, first mold will be done. And as soon as the mold is done, we're gonna basically release it. Because I had planned on releasing it last year, toward the end of last year, but it was just the sales were the first big hurdle. But we finally got the sales worked out. So the sales will be the sales are kind of unique in that they're the same sales we had before. We did have to add a little tiny bit of thickness, but it's not super significant just to make it work in the mold. But then the bowsprit, so the very front sail that kind of goes almost horizontal at a slight angle. Those right now, because those are really difficult to get into any kind of mold because we can't put them in a mold with the ships. They have to be in a mold on their own because they can't go in the mold with the rest of the sails because the rest of the sails are shared by a bunch of other ships. So those are going to be 3D printed in mass. And since they're so small and we have a generous build volume on our machine, we should be able to manufacture them nicely. And our machine doesn't leave any layer lines or anything, so our new one. So it's going to be it's going to look just the same. It'll just be slightly lighter colored plastic for that one. And we've got a really good resin formula that's really durable. It's probably just as durable as the actual Zyocast resin itself, so it's really good. Very impressed by it. That's how you're going to get the ship. So all like that in gray plastic in a blister pack. And I believe they're retailing for $18 per ship.
Okay.
I believe that's the price we got.
Not bad.
And the official release date is February. We haven't given an exact date, it's just February.
No, is that for
so that would be today. So yeah, and that's for the first one. That's for the Anne. So once the Anne is done, then we'll be moving on to the next one, which hasn't been completely decided yet, but it's probably going to be the Galleon, which I already forgot the name ship for that one. But this would be the Galleon, not the light Galleon, so the full-size Galleon. I believe that's probably the one we're going to do next, but there's a couple other candidates because we've got, like I said, we've got quite a few ready, but they're not all. We can't do them all at once because the process to create the mold is complex. So and it takes you got to go back to sculpt and tweak it a lot. But we're gonna basically release them as fast as we can start making them, and I assume we'll get better at it and we'll start releasing them more quickly. I would like to do one a month. That would be amazing. That's probably not going to happen at first. So after this first one comes out, we'll probably see the next one in 2 or 3 months, unless we get lucky. But we'll see. But we have Nate Zettel did an excellent Oak and Iron campaign, which people have played the light version of it that we did for the campaign, the Oak and Iron Worldwide campaign back in the summer of 2020. Everyone's favorite summer.
Right.
We really want to get that out this year. My original plan was to get that out in a box with some rules for fortifications and other things, but I'm not sure. I really think the campaign is excellent, and I think people will get a lot out of it. So we do have a few alternate game modes for Oak and Iron that we've been working on, including the cross compatibility with Blood and Plunder, a version for smaller battles where you could play with just one ship if you wanted to, and it's more focused on that, and that kind of ties in with the Blood and Plunder part of it, but you can also play it on its own. And then also a more streamlined version of the rules for if you just want to play bigger con games, or just bigger games in general, or just faster, simpler games if you want to play with your kids or something. And it's the same basic mechanics. It just takes out a lot of the extra stuff and focuses on the basics. But so what we might do is put all this into like a compendium Oak and Iron book and just release a book for Oak and Iron, which was never really in the plans for Oak and Iron. We always kind of wanted to do boxes, but we may just because of the complications of the last couple of years, we may have to just take a different direction. So we're still in the planning stages on that, but all those things are things that will come out. The idea being it might just come out as a book with a wrapped up with some punch board for fortifications and things like that would be in it. But because putting ships into that box is the part that gets a little complex right now. So we'll see. Those things are all things we plan on doing soon. But that's where Oak and Iron stands. We do have a few more ship classes that we want to model. Some new nations we want to bring in. We want to do another card deck, but none of that has really started developing yet.
Okay.
Hold on, I gotta pause. I just heard giant thuds and some screaming. I'll be right back.
Well, that sounds exciting. All right, so in that case, I'll do the next thing, which is other systems. So there's a handful of like random questions. All right, so
Sure.
So Glenn writes, Blood and Valor, heard that expansion might finally happen.
Yes.
So what's the plan?
Well, it is. It's actually been printed, and it's currently on a boat on its way to us.
Nice.
So it's finally happened.
And
I finally was able to push Rufus into getting it done. And he's been very busy trying to make a living, which I can't understand at all, and I don't forgive him for. But that's the path he chose. But we were able to bully him into finishing it finally, and with a lot of help from a good friend of ours, Ilya, and his gaming club. So they really helped Rufus get past the finish line and get it done. So
awesome.
It's on the boat. It'll be here. The plan, I believe, the release date right now is set for March. But don't quote me on that one. But I'm pretty sure it's March.
All right. Well,
it's on a real slow boat.
When it comes out, we'll take a look at it because I want to start putting my project together. So that's on the list of things to do.
Oh, I have to go back to Blood and Thunder for a minute.
Yeah.
I almost forgot. So we are pretty much. It's kind of good time because we're pretty much almost sold out of Blood and Thunder books. I think I've got about 40 regular Blood and Thunder books still in stock. So one of the things that we did when we did the new rule book for the starter set is we realized, well, this is a pretty massive errata at this point. So as a result, what we did is we basically, when we reprinted, we did a reprint of the Blood and Thunder book, but we did a revised edition. So now it's got a new cover, and it's got all the same content from the 18th century book, but it has a little bit more of the units that were in the original book. So you get all of the Buccaneers and the English militia and the French and the Spanish and all stuff that was in the original book added instead of the 18th century stuff.
Okay.
So we're gonna have an updated core rulebook, which will be nice. That's coming. That's going to be released at the same time as Blood and Valor and War Stories. Which War Stories, in case you're getting to that, is also on the same boat that all these other books are coming in. So that'll all be arriving here at the boat scheduled to land right now at the end of February. So we're looking at March for release.
Okay, I think that actually hits up a bunch of the other things under that category, which brings us to convention plans. So where are you going to be and when are you going to be there?
All right, so I've got a pretty good comprehensive con schedule that I've been meaning to update on our website. So first show of the year, Skirmish Con, Jacksonville. First weekend of March, I believe it starts on the 4th, I want to say. But that's our first show this year. After that, we have Adepticon, which is 2 weeks after that, whatever that is, I think 22nd, I want to say. And big things going on at Adepticon. Jason Klotz and Joseph Forrester have rallied together a bunch of other quartermasters, and they are just running a metric ton of events. And they've been planning and orchestrating all kinds of very ambitious things. So we've got some tournaments, we've got a bunch of participation games, tons of demos. So it's going to be it's going to be a good time to be at Adepticon.
I was really hoping to make it to Adepticon this year, and I know I talked to you about it at some point, but with the whole job change thing, I really got my schedule messed up.
That stinks. Well, next year. I haven't been to Adepticon since 2018, so I know the feeling. Right after Adepticon in April, I don't know if they've even given dates yet. I have to check, but we'll be at Recon in Orlando, Florida. After that, and hopefully at that convention, we'll finalize Blood and Crowns. We always see the guy Eric, who's working on the rules for that. And unfortunately, we were engaging quite a bit, going on some rules that I think he's doing a good job of finalizing. But with the Kickstarter and everything, I've not been able to work with him much more. And look at what he's doing. So for all I know, it could be ready. I haven't heard from him. Hopefully it is, but we'll see. Anyway, and I almost forgot our other RPG, which is relevant to this podcast. The Under the Black Sail. The final manuscript was turned in and edited, initial editing. So now they're going over the edits, and once that's done, it's going to get laid out and going to print. So that should be out in the summer this year, by the way. But moving on with cons, after Recon, then we have a bit of a gap until July, which will be Historicon. So it'll be at Historicon in July. And then after Historicon, we're going to be at Gen Con this year. So
Nice.
thanks to the fact that we're all, pretty much every employee of Firelock is a minority, they accepted us, apparently. So, I'll take what I could get. So whatever lets me weasel my way in there. So that's kind of cool. We haven't been to Gen Con since before we actually officially launched the game publicly. So that's going to be fun. So we got we got a booth set up there, and we're going to plan some events. And if you're a quartermaster and listening and you want to do some events and you're going to be at Gen Con, reach out to me because I haven't had time to start planning it yet, but I know that is coming real soon. So I think they start opening that up this month, actually. So I got to get rolling on that. And then after Gen Con, we have Huracan in Orlando. Basically the same show as Recon, but in Orlando. And that is all we've got so far. There's a new con happening in Tampa called NerdCon. And they reached out to us, and we may go to that. But the dates interfere with some personal stuff for me, so I've got to see how I balance it. But there's a chance we head out to that one. But that's the plan for this year. So quite a lot of shows for us this year.
You're gonna be busy. You're going to be on the road a lot.
Yeah, I'm flying this year. No more driving in snow for me. I'm not driving until summertime. So I'll drive to Historicon, but just because I don't have an airport.
Were you planning to do to Fallen, which is another one that's up near us? I don't know if they've got a place picked yet.
We may attend Fallen, but we're not going to be there vending. So
Okay. I'll turn it over to you for long-term plans, Glenn, and then I think we're finished.
All right. So once you guys are finished taking out Games Workshop and just taking over their spot in the industry, establishing yourselves as head, when can we expect any of the? There's been talk about, obviously if you're replacing GW, you've got to replace the fantasy element there. There has been fantasy Blood and Plunder mentioned before. Are we any closer to seeing that as a reality?
Yes. So the actual game system for it is pretty well fleshed out, and a lot of work has been done. But it's not. It almost was a thing for this year, but the thing that held us back is models. We want to do so. Obviously, it wouldn't be a Blood and Plunder game if it didn't have sea combat. So this is a game where it's you're going to maintain all the elements of Blood and Plunder, but it is a different game. There is some differences in the way it's played. Some things are streamlined. There's some things added. There's extra stats. There's a few things to accommodate for that setting. Ray, who's our customer service guy, if you've ever been mad at us, you've talked to Ray. Or if we've ever messed something up for you, you've talked to Ray. He's putting together a whole setting and a whole background and a whole thing, and it's a theme of it's kind of the whole theme is set in an age of discovery, so kind of very similar to the discovery of the Americas by Europeans. That's kind of the thing. That's kind of the setting. It's something like that, and you have all the typical fantasy races as well, some unique things. And the idea will be a model agnostic game, but supported by by a line of models, especially because there will be things that you'll need that you cannot get anywhere, such as a goblin sailor, for example. Um, so we'll have the market cornered on that, I think. But uh, so it's pretty well done. I mean, there's a lot of work done in it. We had a moment there where we just kind of did that as a side project for fun because that's just what um, when we met with our staff, and that's what all of our art people were kind of motivated to do. We kind of just worked on it on the side, when we had lunch, we'd talk about it and we'd play games and try things out, and it was kind of like a side development, which is cool. So it didn't really interfere with any other things we were working on. But it's come along quite a ways. It's been being worked on for a couple of years now, but it's pretty far along. So it's just a matter of finding the time to make the models and making sure we're able to still support all the other stuff we're supporting and putting out. So, but when we have that bandwidth and we're able to get that done, then we'll finalize it and we'll put the thing out.
So that kind of answered my question because I had this split up as is this going to be if you do fantasy, is it going to be more like high fantasy with elves, dwarves, goblins, etc.? Is it going to be more the real world style where it's kind of like I mean it's similar to Pirates of the Caribbean where you've got real voodoo and things like that coming through, sea creatures, or we can go
Yes. So
more towards steampunk,
go ahead, sorry.
like because steampunk is a thing you can easily go down with this.
So I'm personally just not a fan of anything steampunk. I just don't get the aesthetic, so that's a hard sell for me. So it's unlikely you'll see a steampunk game from us unless I'm just not that involved with it and other people take it over, which is fine. Um, but this is more of a typical high fantasy, but it's designed to be. I mean, we have a setting and everything, but we're making it so that it's flexible enough that you could put your own setting into it and your own models if that's what you want to do. That's the idea of how we're putting it together. That could change, but that's the idea right now. So, but we did think long and hard about a fantasy setting that's your typical like Pirates of the Caribbean, zombie pirates and skeletons and all that. But realistically, you could still do that with the system if you wanted to, using just Blood and Plunder models and other things. So it's not at that. I don't feel like there's enough difference there. I feel like that would compete too hardly with or too intensely with Blood and Plunder proper to make sense for us to put out. You know what I mean? It's too close.
So you mentioned other stats and things, which leads me to think that and what everything you said, this is going to be a standalone thing. This isn't going to be like an optional BMP expansion where you can kind of just tack it on if you want.
Correct. Yeah, it's not compatible with Blood and Plunder really. It shares the majority of the mechanics, but there are some significant changes that affect things. So
got it.
I mean, it was kind of necessary to accommodate a lot of things, but I'm very happy with it. I think it's a lot of fun to play. It's my go-to for all my fantasy skirmishes right now. And because of the way it's close enough to Blood and Plunder, it also you could get all the stuff from it and adapt it really easily to the Frontier system as well, which we've already experimented with. So it kind of transitions perfectly to that. So it's going to be able to handle those smaller, like Mordheim type skirmishes as well.
I was about to say Mordheim.
So it'll do that. It'll do that. That'll be a different system, but that'll kind of come hand in hand.
Well, if you
it'll probably do both at the same time.
If you drop this and then GW drops Mordheim within 6 months afterwards, I think you can take credit for forcing their hand.
Yeah, that's they do tend to do that kind of thing.
And then finally, some people there have been discussions about the points. I think it's I don't want to say it's well known in the community, but I know that there's a lot of people who feel like some units have like a very strong 5-point unit versus a very weak 5-point unit or a 6-point unit that's far outclasses other 6-point units. that kind of thing. Are we ever looking at the points system being tweaked to like double or triple what it is now? So instead of like a sailor being 5 points, it might be 10 or 15, and that would allow for more variance in how points are computed for an army list?
It's possible, but not likely anytime soon. The reality is, if you've played enough Blood and Plunder, especially if you've played in a tournament or something, you know that Blood and Plunder is a game that, even though, I think the game in general is very balanced. There's obviously, it's not perfect. I don't think there's any game that's perfectly balanced. I don't think that's possible. But I think as if you compare it to pretty much anything else, I think it's definitely, I would say it's definitely in the top 5 most balanced war games that you're going to play where there's actual stat variety, right? And maybe I'm naive, but I do believe that. So that said, I think that while that may be true to an extent, ultimately, if you were playing in a competitive way, like in a tournament or something, I think that those minor differences won't really ever decide a game. Somebody might disagree with me on that, but from what I've seen, and I've seen a lot of tournaments, I've played a lot of games. I just don't see it being. Typically it comes down to who played to their units and their forces' strengths better. It is Blood and Plunder does ultimately become a game of generalship, or I guess captainship, but um, and so while yes, we could fine tune it and make it even more balanced potentially. I feel like the game is already at a point where it's kind of got some errata bloat. So we are looking at some point in the future moving to a second edition, and that may include some points changes and some rebalancing here and there, and maybe a different system. But the point system is held up pretty well. There are a few places here and there where there's some people are or some units will have a slight edge over another nationality's same point cost, just because of certain synergies and things. Because that's really hard to account for in a point system, especially when models can be used from one faction to another faction, and to future proofing that is impossible. So there's always going to be some variance, no matter what. That where certain units are just going to fit better in other places, or just are going to seem like an obvious choice over certain other ones. But to just get right to the answer, probably anytime soon. But when we do eventually reach second edition, which is probably not going to be within the next 2 years, but it is something we are starting to look at. That's a possibility.
Well, as somebody who has shown the true horrors of bad generalship, I can attest to the truth of much of what you're talking about. I don't think that the units I've taken is really the reason I lose the game so often. I think it's mostly just that I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I know the LVO, being early February now, the LVO happened, I think, last week, and some of the other game systems that were present were having very long discussions about army lists, and a lot of players had to be reminded that sometimes it's not the list. A good player with a bad list will often beat a bad player with a good list. It's all about.
And ultimately, in those situations, it often comes down to top players. Small differences in balance could affect the outcome of a game, right?
Yeah.
When you're playing like at a really high level, which that there's something to be said for that. But I don't. There's certainly some very competitive Blood and Plunder players, right? But I'm not sure if Blood and Plunder is quite at that level.
I don't think so.
I also think
but still,
with every nationality sharing units between various factions, I think that helps pad against a meta forming, simply because, as you said, there are some units that are very good in particular circumstances, but there isn't like one killer unit. I mean, each player might think that they have a killer unit, but I don't think there's one silver bullet unit that will win. You're going to win if you have them in your list.
Well, just to take advantage, just to take this opportunity to rag on Miguel Vega a little bit, and he bragged for months about how broken his list was and how we totally messed up the balance on that, and he was just going to clobber everybody in the tournament, and then proceeded to lose every single game very
I
badly.
feel bad for being such a horrible opponent to inspire him to such high levels of confidence.
Almost poetic in that his final game was in the C tournament. They literally sunk his boat.
Yep, they did. They did.
But then he got to beat up on me in the Great Swamp fight. So hey,
Yeah, he did. He got his revenge.
Yeah,
yeah, he did.
he just needed some teammates to help him win. That's
I need to bother Nigel. I haven't gotten a game in with anybody for a while, so I need to give him a call. All right. Well,
yeah. Well, he's evacuating your whole
he
region,
is,
so
but
you
he's
better play with him soon before he's gone.
no, but he's here. Yeah, he's here for now. He's here for now. So it is 11:15 for me on a school night as we record this, and I think we've actually gone through all the questions that we've gotten from people. So I expect that this should be coming out in the middle of February if I can actually get off my butt and get this stuff edited properly. And by then I think the rest of the Kickstarter should be arriving because we're confident that the shipping will sort itself out.
Well, in Europe, UK, Australia, and everywhere else, it won't be yet. The boat was supposed to originally arrive on the 14th, and now it's supposed to arrive on the 18th.
It's in Poseidon's hands now.
Yeah. So, just a last minute update to there. That's we gave it, like I said earlier, we gave the tracking info out so people could look at it now. People asked for that, so we looked it up, found it. I mean, we had it, but we just sent it, and so they can look at it, they can track it, they can see where it's at. It should start going out around the end of February because I'm sure it'll be in customs a few days. Hopefully not too long. I'm not really too. It's been a long time since I sent anything to the UK, which is the main place it's all going to get redistributed. But I hope it's not too long. The other container that they did get, that one I think was only in custom for 3 days. So and that was around Christmas time too. So right just before Christmas. So if that's any indication, hopefully we'll have the same luck, and by first week of March, everybody's got their stuff.
Well, Mike, you've taken a lot of your time tonight. We really appreciate you being on here with us.
Always happy to do it. Always good. And I'm getting some models painted out of it. This is great. The best decision I ever made.
Nice. So Glenn, I'll let you take us out because you can time the exit to the call of the sheep that is running around your house.
Well, we do have some upcoming events, which I had listed here somewhere, but they got deleted. So upcoming things, because it's already February. Cold Wars is happening at the end of March. I believe we have somebody running a tournament there. I have not seen it actually listed because they don't put that in the PEL, and I think they're having issues getting enough games anyway. So if you're going to Cold Wars, get in contact with us if you're interested in going to the tournament. I'll make sure that your information goes to the right people if it's there. I'll do my best to help facilitate all that. We do have his Adepticon with Mike was mentioned. I think that's in late March as well.
Mm-hmm.
So again, go out there.
I believe it's the week after Cold Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
The 17th, 18th, 19th, something like that in there.
Yep. Well, it's in the 20. It's on the 20-something, 22nd. I think.
So 22nd to 24th. Okay. Anyways, get in touch with Jason Klotz or Joe Forster if you want to participate in those tournaments. They may already be full and closed. I do not know. I'd probably be more up on that if I was actually going to be able to make it.
I think that they're very close to being full as of this recording, but they might have a spot or two open, but you have to call them to see.
Exactly. Beyond that, we have our paint night on February 17th if the podcast actually gets out before then, which I'm hoping it will. We'll be doing paint night that night. It's the third Friday of every month, so the following one will be in March. With my current work schedule, I'm hoping that the March one I can hop on in the middle of Friday and get a European version going. That is St. Patty's Day, of course, so if we have Irish listeners, they might not make it, but
yeah, I'm gonna be busy that day. I will say that my in-laws are Irish. They're like off the boat Irish, so they usually do something. I will say for the European listeners, because we owe them, I owe Martin in particular. I have a February break from school the week of February 19th through the 25th. So basically, my intent is to be on the 24th, and I'll get on at a time in the middle of the afternoon when I'll actually be free, so that European listeners, if they want to get on, can be on. I'll just be on there for like 2 hours, 3 hours. If people join me, great. If they don't, not a big deal. But this should release in time for people to know about it. We will post it on the webpage, and I'll make sure people have the link and they know where to go.
Yeah, I can also try for that because I do have I have a really weird work schedule where I'm off on Fridays. So
All right, cool.
and-
24th.
yeah, and the last thing that I'm aware of is that there is a rumor out there that one of the major Blood and Plunder blogs might be hosting a painting contest later in the spring, prepping for the Summer of Plunder 3. So
We will keep you posted.
as we get more info, if that rumor turns out to be true, we'll let you know. They'll probably have all the details, but I just heard the beginning of that earlier today. So start getting your
Sweet.
starters, really hone in your skills on those starters, and then go buy another box. And
They will be seeing the
Yeah,
tabletop very
please.
soon.
Mike was just telling us earlier that he's got a whole warehouse of minis he needs to clear out as fast as you can buy them. So
yes, please.
Do it.
That's
Do it.
we literally can't even walk around in there. It's just the boxes are so big.
If
No
we
one-
work together, we can do this.
no one tell the fire.
My garage is full of these boxes.
I'm sure
I could put a whole other boat where those boxes are.
your wife is thrilled by that.
She wants a boat of her own. Mike already has two. I mean, that's only fair.
They make great gifts. Buy them for all your family members. Buy 2 or 3.
Three boats.
Keep some spares. Use them. You could buy a few of them. Make a couch out of it. You could build a house with enough of them.
Honestly, you only need a few of these boxes. They are very big.
They are very big. There's a lot of stuff in there.
That was not the intention. That was very poor planning. My vision for that was it was supposed to be a 12-inch by 12-inch by 9-inch box. That was the original plan. And if you look in that box, you can see how that was. I was completely delusional when I believed that I could make that.
Yeah, there's no way.
Mike, if the biggest problem you have with your starter is that there's so much stuff in it that you had to make the box a little bigger, I feel like that's a win.
Yeah. It's just storing it is,
Well, garages weren't
So we worked out.
garages weren't built for such majesty.
Yeah, I mean, we thought we were gonna have to not ever reprint this, but we've worked out a strategy for the future, so it's gonna remain in print at least for now. So I mean, I should probably just lie about that, right? I should just tell people, yeah, this is it. We're not reprinting it. So then they go buy them all. Yeah, I'm changing my story. That's what it is.
That's the story. I'll edit it out.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
take it out in post.
Certificate with a serial number on it.
Perfect.
All right. Well, thank you for listening, everyone. I hope you enjoyed your time listening to us go on and on about what Firelock is planning to do and how we are failures when it comes to planning what little amount of hobbying we need to do this year.
2023 is a new year.
It is, and it sounds like there's going to be a lot of new stuff out. Especially if you're an Oak and Iron player, that's looking really promising. So, again,
Yeah. Hopefully.
thank you, everyone, and we look forward to talking to you at the paint nights and talking to you next month.
Thanks so much for joining the show tonight. Remember to follow us on Twitter at No Dice, No Glory, and keep the conversation going on NoDiceNoGlory.com, now featuring our own message boards. Have a great night, everybody.